Check. Check, check. Check, check. All right, it's 7:01 p.m. We'll bring the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Matt, if you could call roll, please.
Everyone present except Michelle Parsons.
Okay, thank you. We have a moment for public comment. Anybody want to come forward? All right, we'll move right to our public hearing. If you'd like to open up that hearing for us, appreciate it. You can open a public hearing if you don't. Okay, so public hearing's open as of 7:03 p.m. Okay, really good. So,
She needs to swear in anybody that's going to.
pardon? You're gonna have
Yeah.
to swear in our gentleman here, Travis. All right, Matt, you want to start us off?
I do. All right. Tonight's hearing is for a variance request for the property at 311 North Walnut Street, parcel number 417-431-04-018-000. Owner is Travis Birch. The applicant seeks approval for a variance from Article 30 of the Village Zoning Ordinance to allow for the construction of a privacy fence around part of the perimeter of their property. Specifically, Article 30.03B prohibits the use of a solid fence to enclose the entire perimeter of a property. Such fences shall be located within the buildable area of the lot and only be used to enclose a deck or patio. The applicant seeks to screen their yard from activities in the cemetery and screen cemetery mourners from activities in their yard. The applicant has also offered to remove the cemetery's existing chain link fence that shares the border of their property to abide by Article 30.02D of the Village Zoning Ordinance, preventing two fences from being built back to back and maintaining the functional space of their yard. A similar arrangement was approved for the neighboring property at 297 North Walnut Street. The project benefits the village by continuing the improvements to the fence that borders the cemetery and also benefits the residents of Galena and their families by providing screening for both the cemetery and the applicant. The applicant has coordinated with the zoning officer to ensure their application reasonably conforms to the village zoning ordinance. The applicant has also graciously offered to remove the existing and increasingly dilapidated fencing that is currently on the shared property lines. Furthermore, the applicant has delayed their project to obtain this variance and help ensure an equitable arrangement for themselves and the village. If the Planning and Zoning Commission views this variance request accordingly, then the variance request should be approved.
Thank you, Matt. Travis, if you want to address the group, you're welcome to. You don't have to. It's up to you. You come up to the mic.
Or not, if you don't want to.
I guess my,
Or not.
I
My
see the
question-
hesitation.
and I don't know, what type of fence are we talking? Is it vinyl? Is it wood? Is it,
It's a picture here.
well, I didn't know it.
Well,
That
before,
was gonna be
Travis,
it.
before you speak, please full name and address for us, please.
Travis Birch, 311 North Walnut Street. And then to answer the question, we would be, we plan to, or we hope to construct a wooden fence without painting it. It would be the natural wood color. We would stain it with polyurethane, or we would preserve it with polyurethane so that it would maintain its natural color.
6 foot?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at the diagram. Is it not fully along the north perimeter, just partially along that perimeter?
The only portion of the property would not be built along the north perimeter of the backyard would be where the house currently sits. So it would be entirely enclose the backyard of our property to.
So this, on this drawing where it says 10.5 feet and then it looks like it ends, like is this going to be part of the fence too?
There is an existing fence there. That was
You're just connecting onto it?
correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and so the one that we had approved was, looks like the one next door, but yours still butts up against the cemetery as well.
That is correct.
It's not an active, real active area right now, but it's cemetery.
I can certainly understand why you'd want to be
Yeah.
separated from the activity behind
Sure.
you. Certainly
The-
understand that.
The most recent reasoning for this was we had all 4 of our walking age children in the backyard, and a few people came to mourn a resident of the cemetery, and it's the closest headstone to our property line. And there were a lot of questions from our children, and they were asked at a volume that was likely heard by the mourners. And it just, I think it would be pleasant, or more pleasant, to not have those questions asked about you during said activity.
And I appreciate you take out the old fencing that's there. Thank you. Any other questions?
No questions here.
I don't have any more.
No questions from me.
Any, Kathy?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Travis. You can have a
you.
seat.
Do you need a motion to close the hearing?
I second the motion to close the hearing. All in favor of closing the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have a motion to approve this variance request.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Yep.
second.
Kathy motion, Allison second. When you're ready. Matt, please take the roll.
Seth,
Sorry.
You for your vote.
Yes, approve.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. You're all done here. Yes, sir. Moving on to the approval of minutes, I'm sure there's some discussion here. Do we want to have the discussion now? Or do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I think the motion would be to table the minutes until they can be revised per the feedback that was given this week.
And I agree, in the conversation I had with Jeff yesterday as well, is that these are the minutes that are going to be turned over to council. So I want them to be as in-depth as possible. I know there's going to be other documents that council can take a look at all the documents, but in actuality, it doesn't always work that way. So I think if we could put a great set of minutes together this time around, more detailed, to be able to turn over to council, I think we'll be further ahead.
Okay, I mean, my first observation is these minutes are as detailed or not more we typically do. It doesn't mean we typically did it all the right way or to satisfaction of everybody.
And are you talking about the minutes or are you talking about the attachment to the minutes?
The minutes themselves. We, just so we're upfront and clear about everything, we had a lot of activity in our last meeting in the open hearing, right? A lot of information flowed through. And we put a lot of things into the record, right? From a public point of view, everything's on the record at this point, right? We had a video of the meeting. We had the transcripts that we posted. We had all the documents that we submitted into the record, emails, everything else. And then the draft minutes here, these are draft until we approve them, would be the final thing that goes into that record, right? My proposal was, because it's kind of hard to understand sometimes where the bar is and how much detail goes into the minutes. So my response in the email this week was, why don't we just include the entire transcript in the minutes this month, because there's so much information, and we'll post the minutes with all that information on the website, like we typically do, but with much more information attached. Regarding council, frankly, if they can't read the transcript and surmise what they want, because we are going to, just so you know, for council, for the 10th, when we do have the first open hearing with council, we will give them a complete binder. We'll give them one of these complete binders, transcript, minutes. They'll have all that information at least a week before.
I was going to say, how far
they
in
go
advance? Okay.
We'll have the binders by Monday, I think, or Tuesday, Matt.
Yes, that's correct.
And then we'll get those out to everybody early next week, right? One of the other comments I read, I hope I got it right, was at some point, the development plan from Romanelli would come back in front of us. And we'll have to be able to match that up with what the commitments were that were made throughout the process of our hearings and other meetings. This would be our initial guide, right? Because this, documents all the conversations we've had. Now, I talked to Matt today, and I said, we should probably go through the transcripts and just make sure there's nothing else that is not in here. So we have that list, right? So I don't think the donation is in here as an example, as one of those things.
That's in the email exhibit that was just before the final book.
Right.
So, and I'm going to make Allison help me with that because she's really good at proofreading all the changes and catching details.
Yeah. So we can do,
If she lets
I'm
me.
willing to do whatever makes sense for everybody. I mean, frankly, I think the minutes are fine. If the majority of this group thinks that we should, what I would do then for more detail, I think what I would do is have Matt and I go through the transcript, highlight the things we want to add to the minutes, and then bring them to the next meeting and say, here's the updated minutes. In the meantime, we're going to have that council meeting before our next, so I would probably provide it that way.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what I would suggest.
Yeah, like I said, I think we need more detail. Being part of council and knowing that not everyone reads all their documents before they show up.
They should.
I don't disagree. I can't see them fumbling through everything. So the more concise we could have the main document to pass over to them, I think the better.
I mean,
And just my
frankly, they
opinion.
don't necessarily read anything before they show up, no matter what you give them.
Okay, well, that's not what we're here to discuss. We're going to count on them that that's what they do, that they do what it's expected of them. But just, I go back to the very basic of like, what are meeting minutes and what are they for? And they're to, document the key discussion, which I think this month's draft does really well. It documents the flow of what was discussed. The second major piece of meeting minutes is to document decisions, and then the third is action items. And I think those are the two pieces that are missing from this. And maybe we've been going down this path the past few months, and we've kind of been letting that slide. But when you have something as important as a 2-hour conversation with a developer, where, you know, lots of decisions and action items were mentioned, they just need to be included in the minutes. Now, I know we're attaching the transcript. Just so you all know, it's 85 pages of conversation. So when Kathy says you're going to give this to council and expect them to read it, one, digest it and pull out themselves what are the, you know, the decisions and, you know, what do I need to retain here? What do I need to look for now in this binder that you've given me that may or may not have the information? It's our job to make it easier on them. You know, it's our job to document, like, okay, here's the conversation as I recall it, and yes, this is right. It's their job to read that, but it should be in the minutes. So what you're talking about, going through and pulling out the important stuff and putting it in the minutes, yes, I agree. That's what needs to happen next. And then going forward, you know, for every month's meeting minutes, along with the flow of the conversation is, you know, were there any decisions or, you know, statements made that need to be documented for, you know, for the next level of review. And because honestly, I mean, Karen, you were here last month. Could you tell me 5 things that were decided, you know, even, and if I gave you the minutes and said, we talked about this, could you even say, oh, I remember that, but I don't really remember what was decided. Like, even for myself to go back and look, you know, I need to see it. So, I didn't mean to be overly critical, Matt. You do a great job with our meeting minutes. I just feel like we could do a better job documenting the decisions and the outcomes as we go forward.
No, you're good.
Any other conversation?
I was just going to comment, how long was that transcript? It sounds like it's pretty-
85 pages.
Right, right, yeah, so I think a summary with some bullets and the takeaways would
We
be
can
good.
try to pull out the bullets as best we can. It's a judgment call, as you know,
I know,
right?
I
What you
know.
pull out. So
I know.
it's like, what's the bar? Everybody's bar is separate, different.
You know us, the bar is high.
Yeah, but how high? Okay, we have a motion to table the minutes. Matt, you want to take the roll on that?
Was there a second?
Do we have a
to table
second?
it?
Yeah.
We have
I'll
a,
second it.
All right. Seth?
a motion to table or to
Table it
not
for them
table
to
it.
enhance.
Yes, I motion to table.
Yes, table as
Uh,
well.
But we already had a motion, so you vote yes? Okay. Kathy?
She said
Yes.
Jeff?
No,
Allison?
Yes.
okay. So we'll be tabled. We'll do the best we can.
We'll let you know after we review the draft if it's good enough.
Yeah.
Just know who's reading it.
Moving on to other business, we, as you know, we've had the demolition language in front of us multiple times. More work has gone into that. You want to pull that to the front. I think we have 2 things here. We have the language as was last discussed, and then we have comments against that demolition language that we'll talk through. And I think it'd be best if Matt lead and Allison fill in the blanks, and so we can kind of go through what some of the thoughts are to update this.
Yes. So what you have in front of you, the one with the letter A at the top is the version that's happened since last time, and then B is the version that we last reviewed. Between that time, Councilman Hopper gave us some feedback on his concerns of the process, and then Allison reviewed those concerns and kind of distilled those down, and then kind of gave responses to each of those. And then I took her notes and Councilman Hopper's together to kind of address all the concerns and response in the latest guide. So that's why there's comments on the side and all of that. The stuff that is in red I did update the purpose and intent section, and the only change from the previous version is what's in parentheses there. And then for a comment to that section, I said, updated this section to explain how this new process is to apply village-wide and not just in a certain district. It removes any distinction between planned and unplanned districts. Basically, if you live anywhere, you have to get a zoning or a demolition permit. That's the intent there. There is, oh,
Go ahead.
say,
You're still on the same one. I don't want you to move on.
no, go ahead.
You know, there were some suggestions that came forward from outside the commission on how to address some of these topics, right? And one of them was to clarify that we're really attacking the base code, the code that applies to all districts in our code. So I think that's the change here is to accomplish that for us, right? Okay. Which says regardless of property location and zoning district classification was the change. Okay. Thank you.
And then down in section 2, in speaking with Ken Molinar, he had a concern regarding the timing of the actual demo permit process as it pertains to disasters or accidents. And he said that we want to make sure that the village process is not creating an undue hardship for the property or business owners. Basically, if a house or a business is ready to fall down because of a major fire or something like that, the village should not be the party holding up the process on demolition or repair work going forward. If the village is the party holding up the process, then the village is open to legal action, and we obviously want to avoid that. So for that, in section 2, there's a part in red there that says exceptions. Demolition permit shall not be required if a structure is significantly damaged by a firestorm or other event of force majeure. So yes, I did look that up before I used that term to make sure I was using it properly.
Did Ken approve that statement? Singular?
No, not yet. I operate under the base assumption that before we vote on everything, it's got to get run through Ken again. So
My only feedback is significantly damaged is subjective. So maybe ask him if there are some parameters that he would recommend to a certain percentage, whether it's, some unit that we can measure. Because significantly, their opinion versus somebody else's opinion could be different.
Yeah.
Or to that point, if there should be an outside assessment
A
for a structural
consultation,
engineer.
yeah. Or even the insurance company, if they're like, yeah,
Or
it's
the
a total
insurance
loss, rip it down.
company.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what I had in mind in the back of my head.
Well,
thinking
and it makes sense, but I
Right.
think for the words, it needs to some unit of measure that we can
Yeah,
document.
that makes sense. Thank you. All right, and then down in section 3, I have 2 items highlighted here in the requirements and process about the statement of intent for the site post demolition and renderings of proposed replacement structures if applicable. My comment there is the statement of intent and the renderings are not about the village approving the aesthetics of what is being proposed, only that what is being proposed complies with the zoning code. And the thing that we also need to add, I put a note on this after discussing this with Mayor Kittle, approval of the demolition permit does not indicate approval of the zoning certificate or amended development plan for new construction. It's just us going, oh, they have a plan for the site. They're not just going to leave an open pit sitting there. And also in part of this, they have to get a grading permit and also a stormwater permit. So even if they're not going to build for a couple of years, if they tear it down, they have to grade the lot, seed it, make sure all erosion control and everything is met so that it's not a hazard or eyesore or what have you in the meantime. And then the only other change, it's the same thing as the previous comment. It's just highlighting a section in section 4 as well. And that's it.
Do we have anything in the code today that requires a property owner in this situation a timeline in order to have the work completed on that property? Or is it, the construction can go on and on for years or?
So typically, your building permits and your zoning permits give you a year to get started. Once you're started, I believe there's some requirements on Delaware County's end to get your first footer inspection in by a certain time, things like that. But, for our purposes, if they get a zoning certificate for a new build and they don't get started in time, then they got to start all over on that process with us before they can then go back for their building permits with Delaware County.
There's no completed by requirement, completed by date or anything like that?
The third bullet in number 6, I think, pertains to once they start the demolition or 15 days after the demolition, the grading and erosion control measures have to be completed.
The
Yeah.
site restoration, yeah.
Yeah, but there's no actual, I don't think, construction deadlines for the building itself.
It might be covered by Delaware County code. I was just
Right,
curious
right.
if we had a requirement.
It's a great question.
Yeah,
I mean,
for us, it's just the start date.
I mean, for what we care about, right, is the site is restored. There's no big hole in the ground, and they're taking care of it. Like we had the situation where the grass wasn't being cut, and the one up here in Walnut Street that we had to take care of. But to start the build process and complete the build process, I think it would fall under the permitting they're getting from Delaware County. Right?
And us.
Does that help? So let me ask. I've come pretty comfortable with where we're at. All right. So assuming we are kind of there, what's the next steps to get this done to John?
So I think we need to send this before Ken first for a final legal review. Let him shoot some holes in it if there are still. And then we can actually draft up the final version and put it into the code where we want it. And then it would be in the list of items that we also have for other corrections.
Well, we have to vote to pass it.
Well,
Yeah.
we could technically, after this,
And we'll have to have a hearing.
Matt would schedule a hearing, for at least 30 days out. So if we could get it in next month, if we have that time, that would be the first step, or a step simultaneously with getting Ken Molnar's review.
Yeah.
So, getting on the calendar is first. And then during that 30-day or 28-day window, while we're prepping for the next meeting, Ken can review it. We can review it again. We can come having seen it and given feedback. And
Yeah. What I don't want to have is to have it shot clear through. I can't talk today. Clear full of holes, and have us have a public hearing scheduled and everybody going through all that, and then we still don't have a version to actually move forward on. So I think we should have it more or less finalized with Ken and everybody else, and then schedule a hearing. So it might put us out to
I
um,
can't
What,
answer
October?
for Ken, but I can't imagine he's going to need much time on this one.
well,
Why don't we get in front of Ken, get his comments, and if it looks like it's going to push out, we'll let everybody know.
yeah. I just know we're very close. I think we have
Yeah.
a
We don't
day.
have- yeah.
And I'm out
Short
tomorrow,
month,
so that might
short
be
month.
an issue. So yeah,
I feel good about where we're at.
worst case, it pops out to October, and it's not the end of the world. There's not a epidemic of demolition that I'm aware of.
When
Well-
we get some feedback from Ken, we'll just let you know where he's at.
Yeah.
So you know.
separately, but it reminded me, because we're having the conversation, the barn that's at the corner of Heathermere and Walnut Street, that big red barn, I issued a demo permit for it when I was the interim zoning inspector, so it should be probably expired.
Yeah.
You might want to reach out to him because the barn is still standing,
Okay.
just to let him know he's got to start over.
I was driving by that the other day going, that's in rough shape.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right, moving on. We ready to move on, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. Last month, I gave everybody a copy of the diagnostics report that was done by an outside consultant. They took a look at our zoning code and offered up multiple suggestions on things that we could improve. Now, there's a lot here. So I asked Allison and Matt to prioritize those things. And they said they wanted us to start initially focusing on Article 23 and Article 7. So this will just be kind of an opening and discussion tonight. We don't have enough, you haven't had enough time to even consider, digest what Matt put together today. But Matt, you just want to kind of take us through what you've done so far?
So what this giant document is it's actually 2 pages of an Excel sheet I created to help us track all these changes as we get them done. And the thing that's going to help us with is some of the sections where they kind of weave into each other, so it'll be easier to track those. But this also, we have, this is really nerdy, so sorry if everybody's bored, but I've got them ranked in easy, medium, and hard, so there might be some quick ones that we can knock off easily, and of course, because I'm extra nerdy, you can sort this when you view it and see everything. But then it is literally everything that was in their diagnostic for both the zoning code and the subdivision regulations. And just because they recommended it doesn't mean that we have to implement the changes. We can, break it down by article or by section and say, well, let's get this one figured out. If we were to start with Article 23, we're going to have to begin by, where was that? Excuse me just a second. There's changes that we have to make to that actual language before we would go with their main recommendation of make it into its own district. So there's some multiple steps in there that we'd have to tackle before moving anything forward, and none of those in this, I don't believe, fall into the easy category. So that one's going to take us some
and
time.
that was her feedback, was to eliminate the overlay and make it a district. But like you said before, it doesn't mean we have to do it that way. That's
Right.
just what her suggestion was.
Yeah, and either way, I think even say you wanted to establish it still as an overlay, I do believe some of the other recommendations should be tackled before we were to take that final step. That way everything is finished up nicely. And then, yeah, apart from that, it's just really a bunch of nerdy stuff for me to keep track of it so we don't screw anything up.
I appreciate you putting it all together in a document like this.
And ultimately, my goal is to share the link with everybody so they can look at it as we go.
Mhm.
Do we still believe, Allison and Matt, that Article 7 is a priority? That's the variances one? I think we need to kind of focus in on something.
So I will admit that I kind of forget what she suggested there, but I remember when I read it, I thought, we do enough variance requests
Yeah.
and hearings that it's probably something we should pay attention to. So she, yeah.
This one I actually found pretty entertaining to read, again, because I'm a nerd. But the two differences here basically are that the village grants 2 types of variances, one for uses and one for, hang on just a second. I knew I should have kept the grid lines on here, sorry. Practical difficulties. So basically, one talks about what you're using the land for, and then the other is kind of the conditions of the land. And those are evaluated two different ways. So basically, we need to get it into the code so that we have standards for how to accurately evaluate both situations and not get ourselves into sticky situations. Yeah, they're both pretty complicated.
And again, it's one of those, it is a suggestion. I mean, maybe we're happy with the way we do variances now and it doesn't need to be changed, but.
I have a question. So I'm not really familiar with a process like this. So my question is, we went to a consultant and asked them for the recommendations, and they provided this document. Is that right? And s-
As consultants do, they make a lot of recommendations.
right. So
Yeah.
so my question would be, do they have like higher recommendations? Like, hey, you really need to fix this one.
This is
Or-
what we got.
This is what we
Right?
got.
Yeah.
We didn't-
I
we didn't
think
pay a lot for it, but this is what we got.
I would think, I would like to see, and I don't know if it costs a lot of money, that's a different story. I would like to see their recommendations on what they think maybe our biggest liabilities are, where we have inconsistencies, something like that. Of course, we can go through and just handpick a couple things that we like, but I would like a recommendation.
So these are the recommendations, right? We could hire them to go deeper.
Well, and if you
Like,
look
like, I
at,
mean, like in order of priority, like what they think is maybe a liability to us.
so
that
last
really
month
should be
we got a
focused on.
copy of it.
Yeah.
We got a copy of the diagnostic report, and I think starting on page 20 is like a summary table. So we could read through their notes there and possibly pull out the most important things. I don't know. They didn't rank them. They just went article by article.
I think anything that is going to open you up to potential legal difficulties are good places to start. So, like she said, with how we handle our variances, that's a good one. Anything involving enforcement, stuff like that, which is where I come in, I think those are important so that
Okay.
I'm not creating issues for the village inadvertently just by following the code. I know there's a spot in here about our sign and billboard regulations that actually has some First Amendment issues with it,
Same with the adult entertainment facilities.
which for them, they said they have actual language ready to go that municipalities use to not have issues with
So that's
the-
exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
why we should definitely like tackle those first, right?
I would
It
think.
sounds like they somewhat recommended us and gave us some language. So I would.
Well,
be-
they've, I mean, I'm sure that'll come at a reasonable price, but yeah, there's some of those where, I mean, they've got their fee to just do it all for us, which is not cheap, but I'm sure if we said, hey, could you do the constitutional ones for us, that'd be great. I'm sure they could work something out, but it's worth another conversation. They also have some in here that are, before we recommend any changes, we want to discuss this further with everybody. So there's that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we got to set a priority somehow. It'd be nice if they gave us a little bit of a guidance on that. We can go back to them and just see if they'd be willing to say, here's our top 2 or 3. Right. And then maybe what we could do, Matt, between now and the next meeting is get that answer. Let me throw this idea out. Get that answer, and then Matt, you could work up in our zoning code, redlining the areas that they're suggesting, and then we can bring the red lines to the zoning board so we can kind of look through that and see what your interpretation of their offering to us is,
that
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. But I think focusing on 1 or 2 things, it's just too hard to tackle something like this
It's overwhelming.
without zeroing in on a few things. And then we just make that our working thing for us. Every month we'll work on it a little bit, right? That's all I have for this. Anybody else on this one? All right, moving on to zoning report. Mac, you're back up.
All right. In Miller Farm, Section 1, they're still making good progress on the pump station. I actually had the contractor reach out to me yesterday about prepping a time to go out and do the final inspection. So it's pretty much done. Columbia Gas is still working on the service line installs for all the houses. For Section 2, all the curb and gutter is in. They're getting ready to pave, and supposedly there's 30 lots already sold in Section 2. So I imagine as soon as the pavement's ready to drive on, they're going to start building those. Excuse me. I'm still working with Columbia Gas on their Section 2 right-of-way permit. I sent them an invoice and haven't received the check yet. So we'll get it when we get it, I guess.
Wait a second. I'm hearing Miller Farm, they're going to have some closings in the next 30 days, just FYI.
Yes.
Yeah,
Someone personally came to me.
that's really fast.
He
Yeah,
said they'll be moving in November.
okay.
Yeah, it's
Very
coming. They're
And it's already started, and that's why.
And just so you know, staff is working on a welcome packet for these folks. So when they show up, we can go and give them. Yeah, I need to put that in there. That's a good point. Yeah, but yeah, if you have any ideas on what would be a nice addition to a welcome packet, shoot them to me. I'd appreciate hearing about it. Thank you.
and I'm starting to get grading permit as-built inspection requests for them, which is the final step in our permitting process. I think we've done 2 already, and then there's another 2 that I'm actively working with them on to get finalized now. There's a couple issues they're fixing. That's pretty much it for Miller Farm. Section 3 is just in the beginning. They're doing all the curb and gutter for that area too, and starting to get started on the infrastructure and things. Not curb and gutter, excuse me. That's where they're doing sewer lines and everything underground. They got to do all that first. Let me see here. As you know, for development plans, Arrowhead was approved here. There's a council public hearing set for September 10th. The property maintenance violation situation at 185 North Walnut Street has been cleared up. It's all taken care of. That owner is also looking at installing a second driveway for their property to give them parking. I sent them all the requirements and everything that they're going to need, so we'll see if they actually want to move forward with it. I'm still working with Brightspeed and Altafiber on their right-of-way applications as well. I just received a ton of updated applications for Altafiber today and yesterday, so I owe them some review comments. And then, as you know, 311 North Walnut Street was just here. You guys approved the variance, so that's can be moved to the next category for next month. And for permits issued, for a change, it was a bit of a slow month in that regard, so I could catch up on other stuff. But like I said, we're still working. Most of the stuff's out at Miller Farm right now. We did do the sewer permit for the Harrison Street house at 177 where they're doing the barn dominium. If you get a chance to tour that project, it's really cool.
Did they end up putting a basement or a bathroom on the first floor?
When I last talked to him, no, it's still on the second.
Okay.
That doesn't weird me out though. I grew up with no first floor bathroom, so hey. I don't think there's anything else super noteworthy to share there. So things are just still in progress with Miller Farm, and that's the majority of the focus for right now.
You mentioned right-of-ways. Are we still making progress to where they are compensating us for when they're getting into our right-of-way? I mean, I've heard anything lately. I think once a year we were going to get a check on that.
Oh, are you talking about the registration fees?
For using our right-of-way
Yes.
area.
So they are billed a certain fee per encumbered mile, and we send that to them at the end of the year so that they can track everything that they added. So about November 1st, I'll start getting all that information together and send them those bills. And that's also when we bill them for KEM's plan check time. We charge them like $165 per permit, and KEM's automatically going to be like $200 for a plan check. So we'll bill them, everything else that KEM charges us minus 165.05 or whatever it is, and send them the bill with the registration fee. So that's that.
Matt, could I please ask you going forward to add tracking all the stuff at Miller Park? Sewer, electricity, water, the pavilion.
The pavilion project, Miller Park. Yeah, I can do that.
That'd be helpful.
And as an update now, though, those are underway, right?
Underway.
The electric, the plumbing's underway.
Do we have revised dates for the crosswalk work? Speed hump?
The speed tables, just as an update, September 2nd, they will start concrete work. That has to be done first. And so both at Miller Park and in the square, the concrete work will start. Once that's done, then we can bring in the speed table, install the speed table. So I don't have a date for the speed table. We have a date when they're starting now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for asking, because it's.
The update I can give you on Miller Park right now is we sent them corrected building permit drawings on July 31st, I think it was. And so they've got 30 days to review those. So, yeah. So I don't know why it takes the same amount of time for corrections as it does for the initial submittal, but that's just me. But yeah, so usually they get back to us a little earlier than their ETA. So I would expect sometime next week we'll get the either approval or additional comments.
Anything else for Matt? Moving right
Nothing here.
along then. Okay, next meeting is set for the commission to meet on September 17th at 7 p.m. It is what, 7:47? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Seth, second? You got that?
Seth?
No, we don't vote.
No, we don't
All
vote.
in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.